And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. Our first episode in a new series of our Friends of the Podcast, and it is a Christmas special, as you can see in my nice red Santa suit. But it's a pleasure to introduce our next guest, who is Mr. Pete Snodden. Pete, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. Johnny/Jonathan, which do you prefer? Whatever you want to call me. I should have worn a Christmas jumper today. I didn't get the memo.
I know. I did say Christmas special, but...
which made me laugh. So this is coming out on Christmas Day. So we're up against whatever is prime time on the BBC or whatever. So...
Listen, we're all about winning. We're all about winning here. We've been in it, so don't be worried about that. We'll get the views, we'll get the numbers in. But how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks.
Absolute pleasure.
It's nice to see you. Nice surroundings here, and nice to have a bit of a chinwag.
It's such a small world whenever you come in the studio and there's me thinking that you only know me, but you know Alan way more than you know me from working with his brother.
Yeah. So Alan, who produces this, his brother John JK is a DJ that I DJed with in Belfast for years. Really good guy, brilliant DJ, and yeah, there you go.
Strange word. The thing is, I'm going to have to take this off. I don't think I can sit in this.
Are you overheating already?
The whole time. It's very fluffy. So I'm going to get off, I'm going to throw it away, and we'll get a few pictures in it later on. But mate, as I say, we spoke a few times trying to get you on. I know you're very busy around Christmas time, so I really appreciate the time and effort you've put into coming down.
It's no bother at all. Nice to be here, and yeah, hopefully someone's interested in what we've got to say. Who knows?
I have to say, I feel like I know you more than I know you. We spoke about this before, but every morning on the radio, you're there. You're in my house. You're in the car. You're everywhere.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening. Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing radio a long time. It was the one thing from whenever I was a kid I wanted to do. So delighted to still be there and to be doing it. And the one thing is with the show that we do, it spans the generations. So I bump into people who have listened to us from whenever they were a kid going to school and are still listening to us now. So that's probably the biggest compliment you could be paid. Yeah.
In terms of you being in radio, obviously you do a lot of other things. You host, you present, do a lot of charity gigs, dinners, gala dinners, everything. Like you're very much a man in need. Near enough. You're always
definitely not a man in need. But I'm very fortunate to do something that I like to do. And anyone who you speak to who works in broadcasting, generally, you need to have more than just a radio going on. Do you know what I mean? But again, the stuff that I'm doing, I've been very fortunate to sort of find myself in those positions because I've worked to try and get there because I've had an interest in something, and I appreciate that it's not always the way. But I've been lucky enough to get myself, I do a lot of stuff in sport, which I absolutely love. So it's just about, for me, it's always been about trying to follow your passion, and if you can find a way of ticking that box within yourself, it's absolutely brilliant. So again, long may I continue that, I'm able to do the radio, and that's my first love, and everything else that comes either off the back of that or alongside it, it's always a good experience. Not everything works out, but in the most part, the stuff that I'm still doing now after all these years is the stuff that I really have a passion for and really care for.
I've watched you doing a few dinners, a few hosting sessions, as some would say, and I hosted my first dinner yesterday.
How was it?
Difficult.
Were you nervous?
Strange. Slightly nervous. I went in for the conference. I usually do this thing where I tell myself, your heart is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give yourself that wee boost, that wee pick me up. You go in and you show you're not fearful of it, but it's very different, very daunting. And when you see people do it very confidently, and you think that, I'll replicate that, it takes a lot of time. I know I will too.
I really believe anyone who tells you they don't get nervous is full of it. Yeah. I get nervous before I do stuff, and I think nervous energy is a really good thing. For me, it's a nervous excitement, nervous energy, and then whenever you do it and it comes off, there's a real buzz with that. So for me, it's always about chasing that buzz, and that is a buzz that you've done a good job. You've carried it out the evening or the thing for the client or whatever it is that you're doing. You've seen it through, and they've got from you what they expected from you, and for me, that's what you try to do at any different event that you are doing. So when it goes well, there's no better feeling.
I had the opportunity to be there with a guest and people talking and all these different things going on, and I was trying to firefight. I was wondering, do you tell people to be quiet?
Yeah.
Do you shush people? Do you not shush people in case it goes wayward? Because you don't want the guest being put off either. obviously it's a learning curve, but it's something that I was very happy to be in and be very uncomfortable in.
Yeah, but it's like kind of, I there's so many analogies I can put between the media and doing events and playing team sport and like football and stuff like that, because the way I look at, and even you're taking every single person in that room on a journey from the start to finish, whatever that journey is. So whether that's you're going through a Leave Awards, or whether that's you're going through a Q&A or whatever it is, and you want the people in the room to be on that journey with you. So sometimes, you have to shush down a room or whatever, and it's not a nice thing to do. But again, it's just it's experience. The first time I went and did it, would I have shushed the room? No way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just comes with experience,
Yeah. Now the reason why we're here is because of sport. Sport brings a lot of people together. You're very influential in sport. You're the voice of...
I wouldn't say influential.
No, let's be realistic. You're the voice of the Windsor Park, the Clear Twist Windsor Park, should I say, in case somebody... Because there's
Clear Twist National Football Stadium at Windsor Park.
That's a long...
It's actually, they've dropped the football now. It's the Clear Twist National Stadium at Windsor Park. I think
still wrong, isn't it? Still long, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But, at the end, whenever the stadium was first built, there was obviously talk about naming rights and whether it was going to happen or whether it wasn't going to happen, and it didn't happen. And then there's a sponsor now, and it's not the first place to be sponsored. Let's call a spade a spade. Every new stadium now pretty much is a sponsor. Is sponsored whenever you're looking at like the Premier League and stuff like that. But even on a local level, whatever a lot of the local teams have main sponsors now. And my sort of view on that is that if someone's prepared to put money behind a club or an organisation that helps the club and organisation realise their goals, well, is that not a good thing?
It is. Especially if it's going into the infrastructure, but it's potentially going to help kids, help the national team, the ladies' teams, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's all positive. And as you say, you're not the first people to do it. When the Kingspan, well, it's just now the AFA.
Yeah.
It'll probably be hard to replace the Kingspan. It's been so well known as that for a long time, but why wouldn't we do it, as you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're at that event?
I was at the event. It was one of the best things that I've seen, because it's something that I've been interested in for a short period. So in terms of what I'm saying there is coming onto the podcast, learning how to present or be a host. I watched you talk on that with high officials, chairmen of Northern Ireland, directors of Northern Ireland, obviously businessmen, stuff like that. And one of the things that really impressed me the most was the questioning. Because it wasn't scripted, it was very much around you. It felt like you wanted to dig deep into where the money's going to go.
Yeah.
How they're going to disperse it, and are we going to be able to find out where the money, if there's a trail of what it's going to do, or if it's going to help kids, if it's going to go into the grassroots, going to go into the men's team. And I thought it was a great hosting session, because it really had me grasping where I was like, that's the question that I would want to know.
Well, thank you. But where I come at most of the interviews I do and the people I speak to, and particularly around sport, is that I am a fan.
Yeah.
And I said to you earlier about being fortunate enough to be involved in things that I have got a passion for, and football is one of those things. So whenever I'm hearing the conversation as it's going on, the presentations or whatever, I'm immediately thinking about, well, what are the answers that I want to hear? Because that's sort of things that I won't cover everything, but I would like to think that from a fan's perspective, I'm going to ask a lot of the questions that, your average football fan would want to hear. And then the other thing about it is you're in the room full of sports journalists, and if you can battle off in that environment, 90% of the questions that they're wanting answers to before they sit down and they have their one-to-ones, it means that, their one-to-one time means that they can get the nitty-gritty of what they want for their readers or whatever it is, because all the main things have been covered at this stage.
See, in terms of your questioning, how much preparation goes into that? Or are you very much like, I've listened to them speak now, and this has now changed my opinion on what I want to ask?
So, preparation's key for everything. So you need to be able to detail before you get there. And then the most important thing that you can never do, in my opinion, is listen. So then if whoever's delivering that presentation with their key points and whatever they're delivering, if I'm, the most important thing I could do is listen, try to pick out some of those bits that maybe I wasn't aware of before. Because you hear the top line before you get to the actual nitty gritty. Yeah. And then on the day, I would change my questioning depending on what the person said.
Are you ever afraid at this stage of asking the wrong question, in case it's like, oh, maybe that's overstepped the mark and they won't answer that? Or do you feel like once you're up there, they kind of have an obligation to
I think for me, no matter who you're speaking to, my role is always to get the best out of that person.
Yeah.
So if I can ask a question so they can maybe elaborate on a point that they've made, that maybe they haven't gone into too much depth in their presentation, then I think it's my role to do that. But I'm not one of these guys who's trying to catch people out.
Yes.
I think there's a way of being able to do it that, that whoever you're speaking to gets their point across, and you give them, an opportunity to give the best reasoning for their answers. I'm not one of these people that, is always trying to catch people out.
Yeah. No, I have to say, it was fantastic. I thought that, especially for me, trying to learn and take little bits on board of how I could do that, and maybe potentially not overstep the mark with too many questions, or be subtle in your question to let people obviously elaborate on this. It was very detailed. It was very insightful. It was probably one of the best things.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and thanks for the feedback.
Not that you need it. But listen, away from all that, what I want to do is I want to go back. Obviously, the main reason why you're here is because I want to understand who Pete Snodden is. Obviously, Pete's very big in the world of media and presenting and being on Cool FM, but there's a reason why you got into that, and one of the best reasoning could be from yourself. Can be a childhood. Did you want to be a footballer?
Yeah. Listen, we all wanted to be a footballer whenever we were kids. You know what I mean? So Liverpool was my team. Liverpool were very successful in the 80s, and then towards 1990 in the last league title. And my auntie lived in Liverpool, which is the reason I always give for the reason why I supported Liverpool. And yeah, wanted to be a Premier League footballer, and then went to secondary school. Didn't play football until fifth form, so then I discovered hockey, and I played hockey all of my days. So hockey and football have so many similarities in terms of tactics and stuff like that. But yeah, the radio thing came about really early doors for me. I was in P6. I was on my first school trip away from my parents. I'm an only child, and I was in the top bunk in Castlewellan in Ardnabannon Outdoor Pursuit Centre. And I was missing home, and I had the radio on in my headphones, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
What a great job. And it's just listening to the presenter and hearing them play the music, and I was just like, this is class. And then I spent my teenage years I learned to mix records and started DJing nightclubs when I was about 17. But that whole time was just speaking to myself, trying to make demo tapes and try to get a foot in the door.
It's weird how that little age well, as I say, you're very young, and most people want to be a farmer, or most people want to be a footballer, as you've touched on there.
Yeah.
And for you to really get that shining light to say, I want to be on the radio and be a DJ potentially and do the things that you've done, it's incredible.
Yeah, it is. But I just take it day by day. I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing, but it's like anything. It's the same. I said earlier on about I relate so much at radio world to the likes of football, and where if you look at a schedule of a radio station where you play your players, do you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And I just think that not everyone is lucky enough to do a job that they enjoy doing. So I'm very, very fortunate. But again, it comes down to finding something that you want to do. And I know I've got 2 daughters. One's 14. And she's found this love of the West End, and she's a singer, and she would love nothing more than to be in musicals, right?
Okay.
And whether that happens for her or not, who knows? But I'm just like, if that's what you want to do, you put your heart and soul into it, and you go to all your drama clubs and you give it your best shot, because you just never know. And that was the same for me whenever I probably should have been studying, and I was just mixing records, and my parents' head must have been turned to the sound coming from my bedroom. But they never once said to me, no, go and get a real job.
Yeah.
So I spent hours every day. I was never at the record stores, buying records, mixing music. And the reason for mixing music was because I love dance music, but I didn't think I would ever have the confidence to do top 40 mainstream radio.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I got a dance show playing the music that I love, well, I could still be on the radio, but you don't have to say too much. You can just, back announce the songs, explain what the songs are, and play them. And I thought, well, there's my in. That's how I can get into radio, because I didn't think in my teenage years that I would have the confidence to do what I'm doing now. Yeah. So again, just it's that thing of putting your mind to something and just working hard at it, and and fingers crossed you get the chance. And if you get the chance, you hopefully take it. Because if I was to wait around, I remember whenever I got the breakfast show, and there was a presenter who was there. He said to me, "Do you think you're ready for this?" And I was 24 years of age, and I didn't have the experience to do it. Mm-hmm. But if I turned around to my boss at the time and said, I'm not ready for it just yet," would that opportunity have passed me by? Probably. Would it ever have come my way? Maybe not. Yeah. So I just sort of said, yeah, and then worry about it after that.
I feel like I've connected to you on that, because it was the same with the podcast. I was very skeptical of doing anything in front of cameras and talking, especially trying to, like, I'm not a confident person. Like, if I'm on the pitch, it's different because you're focused fully on trying to win a game, and outside noise is different. But when you actually put yourself in a position where you're doing it and it's up to you and you're worried about outside noises and people talking, it's very different. So you have to kind of just take it and run with it, see what happens, and then not be afraid to fail is probably
it's the biggest one. Sport taught me so much. Sport has helped me out more in doing what I do than what I ever thought. So my worry as a kid playing sport was that I would let myself down, let the team down, and I focused that much on worrying about not playing well that you end up not playing well.
Yeah.
And I realised very quickly, but over a period of time, that when it came to my career, you have to look at that and go, well, hold on a wee second. If you worry about failing all the time, or you worry about not getting there, or you worry about asking the wrong question, you'll end up asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
So for me, I now just focus on everything's going to work out.
Well, at what stage did you decide that, obviously you've touched on that, you've went in quite early to being in the radio, and you've been mixing from a young age, and obviously hockey was pretty much your primary sport.
The whole way up. Still play occasionally.
But at what stage did you kind of just separate that and go, I'm going fully in and I'm going to stay away from
So sport? I used my time at university. I went to uni, and then whilst I was doing my degree, I was banging out the demo tapes, and I got a foot in the door working on Mark Wesley's dance show on Cool FM, and I just hung out there for a couple of years and just got, I wasn't getting paid for it, but I was just there, and I was just, getting the opportunity to be in a real studio environment and pushing the buttons. Pushing the buttons is great. That's the other thing as well. I always wanted to push the buttons, right? Yeah. So that was amazing, and then just hung around. So once the show came up, the first show came up, 2 shows at the weekend, and I got that in the November to start in the January, and then I graduated in the June. And then when I graduated in the June, I had the 2 shows at the weekend. And then I just went and hung out in the radio station every single day in life.
Were you DJing in clubs at this stage?
Yeah, I started DJing in clubs 17, 18. And then during my time at university, put on the odd club night. And
surely at this stage, if you're in uni and you're a DJ, not many people are DJs very young. Probably at that stage, I mean...
Okay, everyone wanted to be a DJ.
Aye, but not everybody had their own nights and they were in nightclubs.
Aye, well, that's that. Yeah, I know. I wasn't DJing every weekend, but I was out quite regularly.
You must have been quite popular.
I liked it. I
DJ.
I loved it. It was great. At the time, the music was fab.
Yeah.
And the gigs that I was doing were, I was just playing the stuff that I really...
Well, what is your genre? If you had a...
Oh, it's dance music all day long, but it's all types of dance music. House and trance are probably my 2 biggest. But I love techno and all sorts, and I still listen to all that stuff.
Yeah.
Even though one of the biggest barriers for me to do, 2 of the biggest barriers for me to do normal like top 40 radio were because I had built up in my head a little bit of a sort of platform for being this dance DJ, and probably at that age, I was probably more concerned about what people thought of the music that I was playing.
Okay.
Because, in your own mind, I'm known for doing that. And what if I go on to top 40 radio and sort of, I'm playing Westlife and stuff, and like...
I mean, Westlife's great.
Westlife are great, right? But I'm immediately thinking, what happens if I'm going on and playing that, and Britney Spears and all that stuff, and then does all the stuff that I've worked really hard for to try and get a name for doing, does that all suddenly fall by the wayside? And that was something that besides actually knowing what to say, was a real big player in my head, as if to say, should I be doing this or not? And I remember I remember a good friend of mine called Joe Mack, who at the time worked for BMG Records, and he serviced all the records from BMG to the radio station. And he pulled me aside one day and he said, what is it you want to do? And I said, well, obviously I want to be on the radio full time. And he says, right, you still do your dance stuff, but you need to get yourself on the radio. And what you need to do is you need to start getting cover shifts and try to just get yourself on there. Well, what will people say if I start playing Westlife? And he says, it doesn't matter what people say. If you start playing Westlife, if that's what you want to do, you have to follow your dream and just go for it.
But then at that stage, whenever you're on the radio, you're catering for two different people, because your morning listeners aren't necessarily going to be your night listeners.
Correct.
And if you're in a nightclub 2 a.m.
Yeah, but whenever you're speaking to a 22-year-old, right, who thinks probably in life they've got it all figured out or whatever, it's different me saying that now than how I was feeling, 20 odd years ago.
In terms of like being in the radio and establishing yourself in nightclubs and doing different things, how does it materialize where you become the Pete Snodden that's in sport?
So, the Northern Ireland gig came about. I think the first game I did was 2008. And how that gig came about, Jeff Wilson was the head of marketing. I think that was his role at the IFA at the time. And he knew that I was a fan. And I was going to the games and stuff. And he came to me and said, would you fancy doing a game? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. Again, just say yes and then worry about it later.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And I remember going to Windsor and sitting in the old wooden south stand. And I just remember walking in, and the wee box that you used to sit in was right beside the press box. And then the late Malcolm Brody and all was there, and you walk through there, and Macintosh is there, and Beacom's there, and all the guys are there. And these are the guys who I never knew at the time, right? And you're reading their articles in the paper, and they're all there, and you're walking past them into this wee box, and it was just it was really good. It was just a sort of, I think now there's a lot more at that particular time. Like I wasn't on the side of the pitch. I was pushing all the buttons myself, playing the music, waiting for the board to go up to do the substitutions and stuff like that there. Right. I wasn't down on the side of the pitch.
Down, so you're actually managing the whole stadium.
This is in 2008.
Okay.
Right? It's a long time ago. Yeah. Whereas now I'm down actually, I'm in the tunnel. Sure. You know what I mean? So whenever... So like David Curry, who's obviously looking after the Northern Ireland team, and he's putting the numbers down for the fourth official as who's going to make a substitution. Like I know before the team, the players change, what's going to happen. Then I'm speaking to the guys in the tannoy. I'm like, right, okay, substitution now, and then we do it. But back then, I was waiting for the board to come up. So actually, it was bloody nerve-wracking. And I've one story I'll never forget. Michael had just taken over managing the team, and on this particular occasion, I can't remember who we were playing against, but it was a friendly, and there was no names in the back of the shirts for whatever reason. And Michael made you could have as many substitutions as you wanted. Yeah. I think he put 5 substitutions in one go, or 4 substitutions in one go. And I'm looking at the board, meanwhile trying to see the sheet for who's on, and finally got through all the substitutions. And then it transpires that a couple of lads weren't wearing the right shirt that was on the sheet.
Oh no!
Right, so I'd read out all the wrong ones, and I was getting dogs abuse for it. And I can't remember, but I don't know whether this happened in the press conference or not. But someone had mentioned to Michael about here some of the lads didn't have the right shirt numbers on. I think Michael's response was, I promise you I haven't made this up, but I think he just turned around and says, listen, I picked the team. What do you want me to do? Dress them as well? But it was around that time. I always remember Ivan Sproul was on that. I think Ivan Sproul came on as a sub. And I always remember thinking to myself, is it Sproul or is it Sproul?
Yeah.
And then I just remembered thinking, rock and roll, Ivan Sproul. And
it's a good way to remember, isn't it?
Way, yeah.
See, throughout your career then, once you're in the Northern Ireland setup, how quickly does that materialise for you? Because I actually didn't know that you'd done the tannoy. Mm-hmm. I always actually knew you from being in the tunnel. You're always at the games, the Irish Cups and stuff like that. And then also your voice is the voice around the stadium for like the introduction of Exit the Syria and stuff like that, which I was like, you're very well known in the national stadium. So I was like, Pete has to come on. We have to get Pete's opinion on things and have a story out there. So that's kind of why I was doing it. But I never knew that you were actually the man on the mic. Like, you.
Oh yeah, and playing the music and stuff like that. Yeah, it's I put myself probably under more pressure doing that gig than anything else that I do.
Is that because you're a big fan?
Yes.
And you take so much pride in Northern Ireland? Because you can see...
There is that, and then also I've been a guy in the stands.
Yeah.
And I know football fans are like, because I'm one myself, you know what I mean? And the one thing I will say is that, you know, if I ever get chipped for anything or whatever, I know it comes from a place of passion and people wanting it to be right, and people want it to be good, and people want to be proud of it. And that's exactly the way I am. So if I make a mistake, you have no idea how much I beat myself up for that, even now.
What is the biggest mistake that you can think of? Would that be one with the numbers? Or
No, the numbers one wasn't my... Not that I'm passing the buck, but it wasn't my fault. I mean, listen, it also comes down to experience as well. It was one of my first games, I remember. And, biggest mistakes? Listen, if I call a name wrong or something like that, the other thing about it is, well, one thing I've learnt, right? I've learnt this, that I hold off now announcing the score of the goal.
Okay.
Before, I used to be like, in the early days, I was like, as soon as the goal scored, you need to be on the timeline announcing the player who scored the goal. But then what happens is that from my vantage point, you look at it and you don't see if maybe someone's got into back post and snipped it in. You also don't see if it's an own goal, because maybe it's come off someone else. It's going to be deemed an own goal. You know, and then now with, you know, VAR or not VAR, depending on the situation, you can do the whole, and everyone's going bucko, and then it's disallowed, you know what I mean? So, so whether I've announced the wrong goal scorer, Andy Waterworth scored a hat-trick in the Irish Cup final, and I didn't give his third goal to him.
No way. Oh God.
Yeah. So but from where I was standing, and the fourth official, we thought it was someone else at the time. That was many years ago, and I'm near certain that story's right, and I'm sure it was Waterworth.
Yeah. In terms of these things, though, it's fantastic that you're able to sort of get past those. You don't hold on to them too much, because it's very much a revolving door. Like, things do change. There's new laws. There's new different things that you have to sort of compete with, just like players, just like the referees, everyone. But
it's also as with time goes, you get more confidence to work out what happens in a situation. So if let's say it's that at that particular moment in time, I'll go to the fourth official now and ask him. But you see, years ago, I wouldn't have had the nerve to walk to the side of the pitch and ask the fourth official what the crack was. It just comes with experience, right?
Did you have anyone guide you at this stage? Because you've walked in the national stadium, as you say, you've seen all these journalists, all these names who are very used to doing sport and that. Did anybody sort of take you under the wing and think, I can help you here, and this is what we've done? And or were you
it's
just
funny. No, I started it. George Jones did the gig before me, and I didn't know George at the time. And then George had left. I was asked to do it, so I just turned up and did it. And there was a few guys who were there at the time. Roy Kitson was the guy that did the away teams at the time, and they sort of, you know, here's the thing. I would have been at the games.
Yes,
I would have heard what happened.
Do
you know what I mean? So you sort of just follow suit and try to put your own stamp on it.
It's so different, because I can't picture actually having to be that person up there, and there's always a job for someone, and you never really know the people behind the job. Like you doing that in the tunnel, I never thought that's...
But it's funny, it's like, for me, it's a timing thing. So it's like doing the radio show. So on an international night, we'll maybe have sort of giveaways to the crowd. We've got stuff to put in the big screen. We'll maybe have interviews at the side of the pitch. We'll maybe have some, you know, like for instance, the last game we had the McDonald's grassroots football winners who were doing a parade around the pitch. You know, all these things that happen, and what you've got to try and do is fit it in with the match countdown. There's so much that goes into an international football match. There's so much that goes into any match that you know, you're a fan in the stand, like I would never have any idea. It blows my mind what is sanctioned by UEFA and FIFA, what goes on behind the scenes to make that game happen. People think that the punters turn up an hour before the game, open the lights on, and away we go.
Yeah.
You know, everything from delegates right the way through to what time the teams arrive, what time they go onto the pitch, what time the pitch is watered, what time they're queuing up to walk out onto the pitch. Like we do rehearsals with the anthems and all that stuff with television to make sure that it all runs to time, you know. And then maybe on an evening you've got a moment's applause, maybe in respect of a player or whatever. And all this comes, and it blows my mind still to this day how much goes into those games. And the guys behind the scenes who make it all happen, in my opinion, do not get anywhere near the credit that they should.
Do you help with the sort of production of that in terms of the media side? Obviously,
I don't help with the media side, but I the production of what happens pre-game and in the, you know, at half-time and whatever, I help with, yeah.
Do you think that your know-how of being near enough producing your own show on Cool FM has allowed you to be able to transition very well in terms of being in a live atmosphere on the radio, because every morning has to be something different or something new comes up, or there's new prizes, there's new giveaways.
Yeah.
And then you have to do that. Do you think that you've been able to just move all those?
Yeah, so just for clarity on that there, so the show I do, obviously, it's with Paolo and Rebecca in the morning. There's just 3 of us. That's it. There's no massive production team or anything like that. You talk about giveaways, that comes from our creative solutions department upstairs. But, you know, you're turning up in the morning, you've got 4 hours of radio to fill. But we've not been doing that since 2004.
Yeah.
2005. So it's just what you get used to. And then whenever it comes to doing the stuff at the games, there'll be maybe, let's say, for instance, there's been some sort of activation put out for fans to win a signed shirt or something like that. You're bringing a couple of guys onto the side of the pitch and you're doing some sort of competition with them or whatever. All that stuff probably comes from, when we come up with the idea in terms of rolling it out. It's like if I'm doing an event, or maybe I've done a Cool FM roadshow back in the day or whatever. It's just experience over the years. It's allowed me then to be able to sort of roll with it, just get on and get it done.
So you are the producer of Cool FM in the morning? Because if I was listening, as I do listen most mornings, I'm thinking that Cool FM is like a BBC, and there's people above you and above them with staff.
We will be the only show of that nature in the UK now that doesn't have a producer. I have a full-time producer.
That's insane, because I thought that you would have, like, there would have had to be people levels above.
Yeah. But that's the way it's been here, and you know, we make the show, and it's
Cool FM.
It's what it is.
Very comfortable letting you do it because you have the experience now. Obviously,
we all do. You know, it's a team thing.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I enjoyed about the morning shows, and we're going to transition into the Irish League very, very soon, about you being a fan and obviously supporting certain teams, but how quickly a clip came out from this podcast, and the next day I was driving along the motorway and I hear about Matty Burrows and a certain spray tan incident, and I was like, this is insane how I'm now being talked about in a way. And it was the next day.
So I saw the clip and then I clipped it and clipped it out. So,
like, how do you do all that quickly? Because I heard that night, and then you're going, boom, that's
I said we're going to play. So just explain for anyone who doesn't know the clip. You explain what he said.
So just the rewind back, and a lot of people will probably remember this, but I had Matty Burrows on the podcast talking about being at the Ballon d'Or, scoring that infamous goal. And at one stage we're talking through the sort of layout of how the Ballon d'Or works, and Matty's going through the process of getting a suit and shoes and all this, and some sort of FIFA executive or somebody who's representing him from Northern Ireland has said that you may have to get a spray tan. And Matty was like, you wouldn't get a spray tan back then, but you also wouldn't get one now. Bit of a joke. And then he also put in that the person who was talking to him around getting the spray tan said, oh, this is a good one. This is the one that Pete Snodden would use. And the two of us were killing ourselves. So I was like, oh my God, there's no way.
Well, number one, there's nothing against anyone who has a spray tan.
No.
But whoever was selling them that line, I've never had a spray tan. But it doesn't matter what I say now.
It's a good way to endorse it, though.
It sounds like I'm protesting too much. The really interesting thing about that, I got a bit of chip after I played that clip on the radio.
Okay.
So I saw the clip and I thought it's class. And I thought, sure, we'll play it, and that was it. Yeah. What I didn't do before I played it was to go back and look at the goal. I remember the goal happening, like it was unreal. So Paolo and Rebecca and I are sitting, and I said, "Wait, do you hear this here?" And what I did with that particular moment is that I didn't let them hear it before I played out in the radio. I played out in the radio because I want to get their response.
Yes, you
If it
want
happens.
the live action.
Yeah, right.
100%.
So then, as I'm explaining the story of who Matty is, I go into what I remember the goal to be.
Yes.
And then, but you've got to remember, he scored that goal, 2007?
It was a long time ago, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't yesterday, right? I couldn't tell you what happened yesterday. So anyway, I'm explaining that he was at the Ballon d'Or and he had scored this absolute worldie at the Oval, right? The ball came in from the left-hand side. He was just outside the 18-yard box. This is how I'm explaining it. Just I'm explaining to you now. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. As I remember it in my head. He was inside the 18-yard box. I didn't do that. So when I see the stuff online. Listen to your man. He makes it sound like he knows exactly what he's talking about. He was inside the 18-yard box. He was this, he was that, and the other. I was just trying to explain to them what the goal was.
Generalization
but the best of it is, no matter how I explained it, would never put the pictures into your mind of how good a goal it was.
Yes.
But I laugh because people will just hold on to anything.
Anything.
So the one thing about this game, and that is, people will talk about getting a thick skin and this, that, and the other. That's fine. I think you learn to deal with the criticism and to bite back from people. I think you learn to deal with it. And most of the time, that's not a problem. However, on a certain day, everyone, like, we're all human.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So on a certain
You're
day...
also recalling something from on...
Yeah, for sure. But no one thinks about that. As long as they can put their tuppence worth in. And here's the thing. I'm lucky. I've got 4 hours to put my tuppence worth in every day. You know what I mean? So... but yeah, it's good fun. But I still go back to it. What a goal!
Unbelievable!
What
finish.
A goal!
And I actually went through it with him on the podcast, and we looked at it, and we looked at future goal scores of something that kind of happened very similar. And I think Giroud won the Ballon d'Or, but he'd done something very similar.
Yeah,
and it was closer in. And you're saying one of Matty's experienced something that no one.
Here's the thing.
Could dream of.
Here's the thing. If it was Ronaldo, or if it was Messi,
100%.
It's a different story.
It is.
But that's another story for another day.
It is. Oh, God. It was very funny, and I appreciate you putting it out.
Listen,
it was absolutely... The amount of feedback that we got from it was like...
Good fun, you know. Good fun.
I want to talk to you about the Irish League. So I'm going to transition on from Matty scoring that one to go on that wee blip to you in the Irish League. The Irish League's obviously became very popular at the minute. You're doing like Irish Cup finals and you're doing a lot of big shows, but
I love the Irish Cup final. Irish Cup final day for me is just always a brilliant day, no matter what team's in it, no matter who's playing. I always think there's just something really special about the Irish Cup. And when I'm asked to do the announcements on the day, I absolutely love it.
In terms of the Irish League, though, who do you support?
That's an interesting one. So it's an interesting one for a couple of reasons. Because I suppose if I'm working in an Irish Cup final and the team I'm about to mention are playing, does that mean I can't work at it? But
disclaimer.
So whenever I showed an interest in football as a kid, I'm born and bred in Bangor, lived in Bangor all my days. But my dad was born in Newton Arch Road in Belfast.
Okay.
So whenever I showed an interest in football, he took me to the Oval. Went to watch the Glens play. Okay. Now, you've also got to remember that I'm born and bred in Bangor, so I went to primary school and all the kids supported Bangor. So I went to Clannyboy Park too. One of my first memories of going to Clannyboy Park was I got out of school early to go and watch Northern Ireland under 16s, I think it was, play at Clannyboy Park. I always remember Alan Snoddy was refereeing that day. I think they were playing, I don't know, could be Wales, could have been England, I'm not sure who it was. But getting out of school to go and watch an international match is like, I don't know, a 10-year-old or whatever it was. That was always class. So Dad took us to the Oval. So, the Glens would be my team.
Yeah.
But I go and watch Bangor play.
Yeah?
Yeah, I haven't been to the Oval once this season. I've been to watch Bangor play at least 4 times this season. A lot of friends who are involved in the club or, who follow Bangor. I mean, it's funny, like back in 93, I was at every single one of the 93 Irish Cup final. Bangor won it. The rules were changed after that, but it was a Saturday final, then a replay of the following Saturday, and then it went to the Wednesday night. It was all 3.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a funny one, but, the Glens to the Glens, and my dad took me there, and I will still, although I don't get there very often, between working on the weekends and whatever else, I follow the game. Yeah. So I listen and I watch and I read, and I just think the Irish League for what it is fantastic. I love the the stories around the game. I love the fact that, you know, you get to know some of the personalities.
Yes.
And it's got amazing characters. And for a period of time on Cool FM, we had an Irish League show, and we did interviews every week, and I absolutely loved it. But back to the Glens. So this is like 88, 89. Took us to see. So Billy Caskey and I was playing then.
Okay. Yeah.
And Billy Caskey for me will be one of the best players ever to play in the Irish League. And he had his Northern Ireland caps as well. But Billy at the time ran the cinema in Bangor.
Okay.
So Ronnie Rutherford was the guy that owned the Strand Cinema in East Belfast, and then he bought over the old ice rink in Bangor and put 4 cinema screens into it. Billy Caskey was running the cinema, and as a 10-year-old boy, Billy Caskey let me in to see Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder for free. Right? And I will never forget.
How good is that, though, you being sort of like a Glens fan back then, him being who he is, a stature, and then you're going in there, you're thinking, he's the best person on the planet.
Oh, it's absolutely class. Absolutely class. Absolutely class. And I haven't seen him in ages, but the odd time I'd run into him in the shops, he would never walk past without saying hello.
Yeah. It's incredible to think, though, that you've sort of came full circle. It's nice to know who you actually support, because that's something that I didn't know. But it also must be very nice for you to see both teams battling out in the top flight.
Listen, Lee Feeney and what he's done at Bangor is absolutely unreal. But when you look at where Bangor as a team were, and then, you know, 93 was a long time ago when they won the Irish Cup. And then you look through the fact that they dropped the whole way down to the Ballymena League.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is what, 4 divisions below near enough? 5,
you know,
maybe.
Yeah, and the battle to get out of that, the ownership of the club. I'm not over all the details about that, and I wouldn't speak about that. But what I do know is that the guys on the board now who have absolutely worked tirelessly over the last load of years to get the club on a stable footing, so it didn't go out of business, and then to get them back into top flight football. It's absolutely unreal. It's absolutely unreal. I remember going down. There was a few, was it 10 years ago now, maybe more, and they had a playoff to get up and against Warren Point. And I remember going down to Warren Point to watch it, and they got beat. And then it sort of just after that there, it spiraled and it just went downhill. And then obviously they got relegated again, and the rest is sort of history. But what's happening there now? And the fact that, listen, hold on, we're at Christmas now. There's a long way to go. There's a long way to go. But at time of recording, where they are, I think is absolutely phenomenal. And
it's really deserved. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about the Irish League, right? So there's me talking about 2 teams, okay? And I've got my team, yes. But there is this football family thing, right? And as much as there's the banter and there is the rivalry, but people like a good news story too. And there'll be people out there who can turn around and go, well, you know what, fair play to Bangor for doing what they've done. In the same way as whenever Lauren started, you know, all the money came into the game and whatever else, and there would have been people going, it's not fair, this, that and the other. But you've got to take your hat off to people who are wanting to make a difference and who have really turned things around for the football club. And I think fair play. You
got to think too, like, everything's positive. The league that we have grown to love or played in or been around for such a long period of time it's very unique, and it continues to be unique with unique people with great stories and good atmosphere around it. We want to get it back to a stage where it's packed every weekend.
Yeah.
And you obviously maybe experienced that as a fan, as a kid, where you're going to stadiums and they're sold out. That's something that I've got the experience of the Irish Cup final.
Yeah.
But to do that every week,
oh, I know,
to get that would be insane.
It's really difficult though, because there's so much other things on offer. You know, from TV, and not just football. We're talking about all different types of sport and entertainment. That's what football is. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
I think Boxing Day will be really good for the clubs this year. Premier League football, there's only one match.
Yep.
So I think Boxing Day but Boxing Day fixtures are always really special, right? But I think there are probably a few more, hopefully, bodies getting into the grounds this Boxing Day. I think if we get the stadia sorted at some point, I think that'll bring a new wave of people coming in as well. There's something though that I really like about the oldie worldiness of some of the grounds, and I'm like, I'm quite a traditionalist like that. Don't get me wrong. I like everything shiny and new and all the tech and stuff. But there's something quite nice about the fact that a lot of the stadiums haven't changed, and the Oval's one of them. Do you know what I mean? There's something I really like about that. It's the same as like going to the pub, right? Like, don't get me wrong, a shiny bar and nightclub's great, but like, give me a proper, old school Irish bar, serves a great pint, and you walk in there, it hasn't changed since the 50s, but
the same women are behind the bar putting pints, same guys are there.
I love that. I know that's not everyone's thing, but I love that. So there's still a wee bit of in that in football, and there's something that's still a bit rough and ready about it that I like.
One of the things I want to touch on just before we go here is some of the big games that you've been a part of, and you've obviously done big Irish Cup games over the last ladder of years, and also Northern Ireland games. You're there around the players, these incredible footballers representing our wee country.
Yeah.
And some of those big games get us into Europe, Euros, Gary McCauley and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's it like to be a part of those games, interviewing those people after? Because that's you probably interviewing and presenting at the height of your
the
emotions.
100%. So we took the show to France for 4 weeks whenever Northern Ireland qualified. Whenever Laurie Sanchez was the manager of the team, and we had a really good run, I went to the boss of the radio station. I said, if we qualify, because we were close to qualification there. People still say if Laurie had stayed and hadn't gone to Fulham, that we would have qualified. But anyway, so that run, I went to him and I said, listen, if we qualify, I want to take the show. And he says, okay, that was fine. Oh, didn't qualify then. That was fine. We then qualified for 2016, and I went and had the same conversation. And he says, yeah, okay, let's make it happen. So I'll never forget, we were on the Stena Line that morning. Stena Line sponsored the show at the time. And I think the realisation of what we were about to do sort of dawned on our managing director at the time. So we were sitting at the dock. We had got a branded vehicle. We had a box of radio kit. There was three of us, Paula, Rebecca, myself, and Alex Carey, who worked in news at the time. It was just the 4 of us going for a month or however long it was going to be. And we went out there, and it was just us. That was it. And I swear to God, we never worked as hard in 4 weeks in my life. But in all the stuff that I've done in my career, that's just the best thing by an absolute stretch. So we got access to the players. So we obviously we were at the training camp. We did all the interviews pre-match. We did post-match stuff. We did we set up the radio show from wherever we were staying. We did the show every morning, and then we followed the fans. And the biggest thing for me was to give a feeling of what it was like for people at home who weren't there, and we had so many characters who came and followed, and the Republic were in the tournament as well. So in this place that we call home, it was a real melting pot of, and the thing which I loved about that tournament, obviously what happened on the pitch was just incredible. I got to know a lot of the players, so even though I would have been at the games and I would have been announcing the players, but I got to know a lot of the players and people who now I would regard as friends. Okay. And so I'm very, very thankful for that. But being in France at the time, it was 86 the last time we qualified for a major championship, first time at the Euros. And I'm so pleased that we were able to make it happen because, now we've got obviously the playoffs for the World Cup. Who knows what's going to happen? But if we do qualify for the World Cup, 86 is a long time ago since the last one. So if we do qualify for it by hook or by crook,
you have to.
I'll be there, whether we're doing the radio show or not, because I may not see another one in my lifetime.
Absolutely.
But that was just the best thing since sliced bread, and that to me was just amazing. And just on it, I know, I have so many amazing memories of that trip. But there's one that sticks out for me.
Okay.
So we were there in the morning, and we were following Northern Ireland, right? And as I mentioned, the Republic of Ireland were there too. And in this place that we call home, you'll have people who listen to the same radio who will be a Republic of Ireland fan, right? And that's fine. And obviously being on the radio, it's an inclusive thing. It always I'm an inclusive person. If you follow Manchester United or you're like me and you support Liverpool, it's just great. It's great banter. It's what it's always about. So anyway, we're in Paris and we're playing. We've played Germany and we're playing Wales in the next game. And this is the one where we're either going home or we're staying. And place is just filled with green and white. Like, the atmosphere was just amazing. And we ran into these two guys from Macrofelt who were in France following the Republic. And they turned up on the day with all Northern Ireland fans in the Republic jerseys, and were there to support Northern Ireland and just to be part of the whole atmosphere. And I've got a picture of us with the Eiffel Tower in the background, and we're wearing Northern Ireland shirts and they're in the Republic jerseys. And I just thought, that's a mark of where we are.
Yeah.
And that will always live with me. And I just thought it was great.
You think that whenever we take sport out of Northern Ireland, it completely changes how people's perspective on being back home? Because that tournament allowed everybody to see two sets of fans who have been widely renowned as being
best fans in the world. And they both won the medal for that.
They're both like honoured near enough.
That's the word. Yeah,
there was pictures of them cleaning streets, lifting all their
That's
pinks up and doing everything, and you're sitting going, that's the best sort of representation that we could probably give as an island.
100%. 100%.
You come back then, and then it settles the way it was before, and then you probably hopefully we take both teams back out again.
Yeah.
If all things go well in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think
have that again.
I just think the sport's given me so much, whether it's playing it, whether it's following it. I said earlier on, it's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's given me so much. And I think as a society it gives us so much. And for me, sport brings people together. And that to me is what should always be the overarching positive of what sport is, and that doesn't matter what it is. You know, I know you're a footballer, and we've been talking football here, but all sport.
Yeah,
I think it's something that you know. I get that not everyone's into sport, but I think there's a long lasting effect of what it has on people, whether you're on the pitch or whether you're following it.
It's a huge catalyst for people to come together.
Yeah, bring people together. 100%.
And especially with us, I think, in such a small place, we're so big with other sports. The rugby's massive.
Yeah,
and
we're GAA huge.
We're literally the best in the world. And sport, like football's probably wider publicised, and we're not as good as we are as other sports, but
also, by the way, I just love the fact that Conor Bradley's starting for Liverpool, right? So you see back in the day, all my mates are all United fans, right? And then obviously the legacy of Jordy Best and Jimmy Nicholl, Sammy Mackin, all the people who have come through, all being United men, right? And I know Rodney signed and Jim signed and whatever else, but they didn't have the first team experience as what a lot of the boys at United have. So you see now to have someone from home who is starting for Liverpool. Bloody brilliant.
I'm putting in serious performance.
Yeah.
When you look at that game, it's just the highlight of just him and Mbappe.
Yeah.
And you're
what a tackle.
What a tackle. And then you look at the Vinicius game where he just marked him out of the game, you're sitting going like, you've just done this whole country so proud.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So good. And the other thing about it as well, and I don't know Conor personally,
well, hopefully Conor does us a favour here and somehow gets this video and gets us two jerseys, because I would like to put one up in the studio, and I'm sure you would wear it.
Yeah, I just think that for such a young fella who has been through, I mean, he's only lost his dad recently.
Yeah.
For what he's been through, and how he conducts himself, he is a role model for any kid.
100%.
Any kid is a role model, and he's fab. Love watching him play. What I really love the most is that since he's broken onto the scene, you start to see these videos doing the rounds of him as a youngster doing all the strength and conditioning,
yes,
and all that stuff that sets you above other people who won't spend the time doing it. And I just think, you know what, he deserves every single plaudit.
I look at it from that perspective, and I also see the other side where Trey Hume, and you're looking at someone for any kid that's coming into the Irish League, to sort of emulate someone, you want to emulate Trey Hume. Yeah. Someone who's been at Linfield, didn't play much, went to Ballymena, went on loan, played a load of games, went back to Linfield. Next minute he's at Sunderland, and then the next minute he's in the Premiership. Yeah. And going, that's exactly where kids can go.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really good for the new wave of kids coming through. But if you look at the likes of Gareth McCauley and Stuart Dallas, who did exactly the same, who hung about here for longer than before they went across the water.
26, 27.
Do you know? And that just goes to show, never give up, you know.
Possibilities are endless these days.
Yeah, this is
You know.
this is true. This is true.
But listen, I don't want to continue the conversation because it's been absolutely perfect, and I've thoroughly enjoyed sitting here digging into your life and having the football chat. And as I say, thank you so much for dedicating your time. But we finish on hugs is the only thing,
Okay.
and I love hugs.
Right.
So you happy? Here's one big hug. Thank you so much, you're an absolute been an absolute pleasure. And as I say, this is our Christmas special, so hopefully everybody tunes in, listens to it. We beat those anybody on the BBC with a white, but that's true. Join us next week on the On the Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. Merry Christmas. See you soon.